Hey guys, thanks for joining us for this 131st episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests on this episode include character actor Richard Masur, has a new movie Hudson that's available now. We'll also visit with actor and director David Henrie. The movie This Is the Year is going to be available in wide release September 24th. We'll also visit with Impractical Joker James S. Murray. His new book, The Stowaway, is available now. We'll also visit with Grill Master Extraordinaire and 2021 BBQ Hall-of-Fame inductee Meathead Goldwyn. And we'll visit with luxury builder Scott Hamilton Harris, the ultimate home creator. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, comment, leave some feedback, check out the shop, and of course, share with your friends. Now, are you excited that we're now entering fall, or are you sad that we're leaving summer? Well, according to a new poll, summer has a bigger fan base. 33% of people said summer is their favorite season, followed by 22% who chose spring. Fall wasn't far behind with 19%. Only 7% of people said they like winter best, while 18% said that they don't know or don't have a favorite season. Now, there were big differences among age groups. Gen Z preferred winter 23% to spring's 9%, while those 65 and older were the opposite, loving spring 32% over winter's 2%.
You know, from the big screen, got a brand new movie we're going to be talking about, the award-winning road trip dramedy Hudson. That's going to be releasing September 21st. We've got actor Richard Masur on with us this morning. And first off, Richard, it's a privilege to have the chance to visit with you, sir.
Nice to visit with you, too.
Richard, tell our listeners just a little, if they haven't seen the previews, the trailers of Hudson, what to expect from the new dramedy.
Okay, well, first of all, let's clear up the dramedy thing. This really, I don't know, I would not have labeled it that. It's a comedy that's also very, very touching in places. And that's all you really, just like, would you call Groundhog Day a dramedy? No, you call it a comedy. Because, it's funny, but it's also about something, and there's some real emotions in it. It's the same kind of thing. It's about a man named Hudson who's in his early 30s, played by a wonderful actor, David Levin. And he also happens to be my son in the film. His cousin, played by another wonderful young actor named Gregory Lay. They get together because Gregory comes to visit Hudson, and his mother, Hudson's mother, has died recently, and he has her ashes on his mantelpiece, which is her house that he still lives in. And he's decided he wants to take them and scatter them under this big tree in this town a little ways away. And he doesn't drive, so he's a very odd guy, Hudson. So he asks his cousin if he will drive him up there, and the two of them, and that's the road trip part of it. They get in the car and start going, and along the way, they meet this young woman played by Mary Catherine Greenawalt, who's just wonderful. They all are, and it's a wonderful, odd mixture of the three of them, and they have things that happen to them along the way that are funny and weird and interesting. And then at one point on the way up, they stop to see me because I'm Hudson's father, but I'm also a doctor, and the only time he ever sees me is when he's got something wrong. So that they stop and see me, they go do what they are doing, and they come back and stop and see me on the way back because something else has happened. And I'm not going to tell you what, because that would just screw the movie up.
In the times we live in, having a movie out and the way things are coming out today, I mean, Richard, did you ever see the world of movie making becoming what it has become in 2020, 2021, and beyond?
No, it's, nobody's ever seen anything like this. So, and I would very much hope that it there are movie theaters that are open now, and there are things that are being released in theaters. I personally have not been, and I'm not sure that I will go yet because of what's going on with Delta and everything. But working under these circumstances, that SAG-AFTRA, the union that I'm a part of, and all the actors are, and the other unions involved have worked very, very diligently with our employers to come up with a way to keep people safe during this time. And that got worked out almost a year ago, even though things were still very scary and not, in control at all. They worked out a way to do this, and I'm about to leave actually tomorrow morning on a job, and I have to go get tested. Obviously I have my vaccinations, which are required. Which I'm delighted they're required. I'll be flying, masked up, which is also required. I'm delighted about, because for me, I'll just say this is a little commercial, but I don't want to, I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to get anybody else sick. And for me, that's why I got vaccinated. Those two reasons, not just me. And I feel very protected. They've told me that I am, and I believe them. I have no reason not to, based on all the numbers that have come in. But I also understand that with this new variant, I possibly could become a spreader of the infection, even though I'm not sick. And I don't want to do that under any circumstances. And that's why I keep wearing a mask. I did the whole time they said we didn't have to anymore. I still wore a mask because I didn't want to take a chance I was going to get somebody else sick. So anyway, for all those reasons, we've all, I think, the crews, the cast, everybody, cast members during this time, we're the only ones on a set that can't protect ourselves because we can't wear the masks when we're working. So everybody working around us, there are different kind of cohorts, and that cohort, which is called the A cohort, which is the actors and everyone who touches the actors, makeup, hair, sound people who put mics on us, wardrobe people, they all have to be vaccinated, and they all have to wear masks when we're not wearing masks. But and they get tested way more regularly than anybody else on the crew. And then the whole crew has to wear masks too. So that's what it's like. It's very different.
That is right. And again, the new movie, Hudson, going to be releasing on digital. Richard, always want to make sure and let folks know not only where they can find more info about the film, but everything else you've got going, maybe social media-wise as well.
Thank you for asking. I'm actually, I'm pushing 73 here. I'm not a big social media guy. I'm pretty good on everything else, but I don't know why. It just talking about myself has never been my thing. So these things are not always easy for me. But I don't really have anything going on vis-a-vis social media. Though I am on Instagram and other things, but I hardly ever post. So if people want to follow me, they can. I might put up a picture of a sunset once in a while.
That's good. Well, Richard, it's been a privilege to visit with you, sir. I've been watching you on this big screen for many years. Truly a privilege. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and looking forward to checking out the new film, Hudson.
Thank you, and I really hope people understand. In almost 50 years of doing this work, this is one of my favorite things I've ever been a part of. It's just beautiful, funny film, and not a single audience that's seen this, when we could still have audiences, hasn't loved it. Every single person who's seen it that I saw anyway, just walked out, as they used to say, humming the tunes.
Good stuff. Well, Richard, I hope you have a great rest of your week, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for doing this.
Now, today is the first official day of autumn. And this past week, Google Trends posted the most searched fall activities in every state. And for most of the country, it's going to a pumpkin patch. That was number 1 in 39 states, including everywhere west of the East Coast. Apple Picking was number 1 in 10 states: Maine, New Hampshire, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And corn mazes were number 1 in Vermont. Now that's only 3 fall activities. What is your favorite thing to do in autumn?
We actually interviewed the week before you guys did that special event with this movie last year, so I'm excited to kind of follow up on that one. So
that's right, man. Yeah, we did a when COVID hit, we had a release date last year, and when COVID hit, we decided to do a COVID benefit. So we did a day and date live viewing of the film, and it was really successful. We raised a bunch of money, and now it's finally coming out for mass consumption. We're excited. iTunes, Amazon, you can kind of get it everywhere and anywhere, and we're hoping people check it out. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a feel-good movie, so it was important for us to get the movie out there back when COVID first hit last year. But we're even more excited to get it out now because people still need to feel good now more than ever. And we really want to put a smile on people's faces.
Now, David, if folks missed out on our last talk about This Is the Year, tell our listeners a little bit about the film, the inspiration behind it. And I know you got to work with one of your really close friends on the project as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Selena Gomez is on the producing team, and we were so excited to have her on board. I mean, she saw the movie and she felt good and she smiled and she really resonated with them. She felt the message really resonated with her. She felt it was empowering to young women because there's an arc in the film where 2 girls help one another. They're not catty. They're not competing over a guy. And they have some really deep conversations about their lives that helps them both come of age in the film. And that really resonated with her. But, the film is a classic coming of age high school movie that has a love triangle in it. But it's never about guessing the end. It's more about the fun along the way. So they go on a epic, dramatic ride across the country to go see their favorite band and deal with deep themes that I feel like young people deal with nowadays and that I've witnessed and that I deal with myself. The theme of expectation versus reality. I think so many with social media, with movies and TV shows, we're inundated at every moment with just so much stimulus. And it can make us expect our life to go a certain way. And that's not always how it goes. Reality might not be the case. And reality itself is very beautiful. So I wanted to tackle that theme of expectation versus reality because I felt like it's really relevant, but place it in a classic setting and context, a coming of age film that hopefully feels nostalgic and harkens back to a lot of my inspirational references, the John Hughes movies from the 80s and 90s. So it's definitely a movie that tweens and teens will love, but I'm hoping that any adults that sit down and watch it too on their own, who just want to watch a coming of age romantic comedy, they'll feel nostalgic and they'll like it as well, and they'll get the references to some of the 80s films. So yeah, I'm excited. It should be a thing the whole family can sit down and watch and hopefully feel good.
There you go. Now, David, has there been any road trips to concerts or festivals that you've endured in your own life that have kind of shaped your thought process on like the film as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would always road trip to Coachella. And that was always very impactful on me every time. It was very, very impactful. I always took notes on those road trips and just my festival experience. And you'll definitely see some of that in the film.
Now, David, like we mentioned, we talked last year when you guys were doing the fundraising effort and all that. And what did you learn from that and from the reaction from the viewers that really sparks your excitement for the major release?
I got a taste of just how excited people were, and the feedback that we got was super positive. The reviews we got in were really great. So it got me even more excited to get it out there for mass consumption because it wasn't available on all the major distribution platforms like it is now. So we only got to a sliver of the audience. So now that it's on iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, Redbox, everywhere movies are sold, you can get it. I'm thrilled that it's going to get out there. And I just I know I've said this a million times. I just hope it, gives people a warm feeling and honestly gives them something to talk about afterwards. And gives them a moment to kind of self-reflect and hopefully sticks with them a little bit.
Now, David, now that things are trying to open up we're wherever we're at right now, how much different is it on set? And I mean, do you have a feeling of a different feeling of appreciation whenever you step on set now that maybe you didn't have before?
Oh, totally, man. Totally. Like it's as if it wasn't hard enough to make a movie. Like now with COVID, it's become even harder, and you really have to want it more and earn it in a whole nother level, because there's just, everyone's wearing masks or 2 masks and trying to communicate with actors. It's not easy. So you got to really want it and work hard at it. And just the fact that we can even still do things, I'm very appreciated, because for a long period there, no one was doing anything. So there was a reality there where it was like, man, are we ever going to be allowed to go back and actually make films? So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful that the industry's figured out a way to make movies and make them safely.
And everybody talks about the negatives that we've gone through the last year and a half or 2 years. What's the biggest positive you've pulled from the pandemic times that you're going to be able to continue on, something that you learned in the process?
Oh man, just spending time with my family, like just doing family dinners, keeping constant communication. I mean, I actually moved. I left LA. I went up to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I bought some land and I'm building a house. And now that we can work remote, I'm done with the big city. I'm like, I got a 2-year-old and I got a newborn, and I'm wanting them to have some room to run around. So the pandemic changed my life completely, and everything we do is remote. I'm for instance, very, very incredibly grateful to have worked on this show called A Tale Dark and Grim on Netflix, which comes out October 8th. I was one of the producers and I wrote for the show, and my company, Novo Media Group, got to produce it. We did that all remote. All remote. It's an animated show and it's 10 episodes. It has a great cast: Adam Lambert and Jonathan Banks and Scott Adsit and Ron Funches, Missy Pyle, Rainey Rodriguez. We just have an all-star cast. Wow. And we did it all remote. It was a wonderful experience. I did it all from a coffee shop while drinking great espresso. So it was a true blessing that we took a bad situation and figured out how to make a good out of it for my family. And I'm just very grateful that our family stuck together through it, and we grew closer. Myself, my wife, my children grew closer. We weren't going to let it tear us apart and let us feel depressed. So thankfully, we were able to make a positive pivot out of it.
That's right. And again, this is the year in wide release coming up on the 24th. And David, want to make sure and remind folks where they can find the film, and then everything you've got going social media wise as well, my friend.
Absolutely. Yep. This is the year. You can get it everywhere movies are sold on the 24th of September onwards: iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, Redbox, anywhere. Just if your screen has one of those little finder windows, just type in "This is the year" and you'll have multiple options. You can watch it on whatever platform you want. So stoked to see what people think. Please hit up my social media accounts and let me know your thoughts. It's at David Henrie, and Henrie is Henrie. I will be responding to everyone all weekend long, so please let me know your thoughts. I'm stoked to hear what people think of the film, and let me know.
All right. Well, David, always great to visit with you. I know we've got an upcoming project we can talk about in the future. Look forward to talking about that. And again, congratulations on the film. Looking forward to the big release this week.
Really appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
Now, do you ever have a moment that makes you feel like you're in a horror movie? Well, a new homeowner in the UK discovered an old rag doll behind a wall, which is terrifying enough. But it gets worse. It also had a note where the doll introduced itself as Emily, said it killed the original owners, and ended with, "I hope you have knives. Sleep well." The homeowner's friends are spooked, but he isn't bothered by it. The doll was found in an area that was recently renovated, so he thinks it was just planted there a few years ago as a joke.
Always great to have friends of the show back, and especially best-selling authors on release day. Got the new book called The Stowaway that is out today. James S. Murray, you know him as Murr from Impractical Jokers. First off, James, always great to visit with you, my friend.
Thank you. Great to talk to you again. How you been?
Doing well as anybody, I guess, Murr. And when did you start the process of The Stowaway, and how blown away are you by the books just rolling out of you, my friend?
I know this is our fifth book. It's so much fun. I think the idea for The Stowaway came about on the Impractical Jokers cruise, because the book is about a serial killer on a cruise ship. The story is really compelling. The story is this. There's a woman named Maria Fontana. She's the juror on the trial of the century, this gentleman that has been accused of murdering a number of children in this kind of ritualistic way. And she can't find herself to vote guilty, and he goes free. 2 years later, she's on a transatlantic cruise with her fiance and her two kids. And halfway across the Atlantic, 3 days in any direction from land, people start disappearing in the same exact way that the killer killed people 2 years earlier. And she thinks to herself, is it the guy I set free? Is it a copycat or someone else messing with me? And she's the only one that can stop the serial killer before he kills again. It's a great mystery. They'll keep you guessing to the very end. And I think it was inspired by the Impractical Jokers cruise.
I don't know what that says about the cruise, Murr, if it inspired the Stowaway. I mean, come on now.
I promise you, the Jokers cruise is very safe. I promise you.
Now, The Stowaway, I know you wrote this one with Darren, and working alongside of him, I mean, what kind of pointers do you pull from another best-selling author when you're working together?
We have very complementary styles, and also we like to drink together as we write, so that helps a lot too.
Now that you've got 5 books out in the pipeline, Murr, I mean, are you just going to keep the writing? Are the writing juices do they just keep flowing? Are they picking up, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, our last book, Don't Move, just got adapted to a screenplay, a motion picture, and is being developed into a movie. And I have 3 more books coming out starting next year called Area 51 Interns. That's a children's book series with Penguin Random House. And then Darren and I have 2 new books we're working on as well that we'll be pitching soon to publishers.
And I know you mentioned the cruise, but you guys also going back out on tour with the Impractical Jokers. And Murr, what's it like to get out there face to face or in front of the fans again after all we've been through?
I'll tell you what, it's the best part of the job, I think, because, the guys and I come from a live performance background. It's our first true love. I go out and do my own stuff too. I do Murr Live, which is me performing on stage doing stand-up, and it's great fun. And it's the best part of the job. And like tonight, we're doing a virtual book launch. By the way, if you would like an autographed copy of The Stowaway and a ticket to the book launch, it just costs 1 book. Go to meetmurr.com and you can get an autographed copy of The Stowaway. And I get to see all fans tonight on Zoom. It's quite fun.
Now, what is the biggest thing you pulled away from virtual and technology these last couple of years that you've been using as of late?
I mean, we already used our phones on the toilet, so that hasn't changed much. But no, I mean, gosh, the whole advent of Zoom, we use it all the time now. We don't even go into the office anymore. We're just, Zoom with writers and producers, and Darren and I Zoom together to write. It's that's the best thing ever.
You talked about doing stand-up as well on your own. I mean, how do you prepare yourself for stand-up that's different from Impractical Jokers and also the writing side of things?
It comes very naturally because, like I said, we come from a live performance background. So, like, when I go out on the road and do Murr Live, it starts kind of like a Q&A with the audience, and then it becomes jokes, and it becomes stories and from life and set, and then we play some games, and it's really kind of like an improv stand-up comedy show because I have no idea of what I'm going to say, where the show's going to go, but there are bits that I do in it. It's just like the Joker's tour. It's a lot of fun.
That's right. And again, the new book is available now, The Stowaway. And Murr, I want to make sure and let them know about the link again, and then all the social media so they can keep up with the upcoming tour and everything else as well, my friend.
Sure. If you want an autographed copy of the Stowaway, go to meetmer.com, MEET, meetmer.com, and you'll also get a ticket to the book launch tonight on Zoom. And I'll send you a poster and an autographed copy. Or you can also get the book anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore. And for all things at Practical Jokers, just go to practicaljokers.com to see our tour dates and so on and so forth.
There you go. Well, Murr, it is always great to visit with you, sir. I'm excited about book number 5 and looking forward to our next call, book number 6.
It sounds good. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Now this sounds like a perfect case for Encyclopedia Brown. A 44-year-old thief in Germany broke into a kindergarten classroom back in April and stole a strange assortment of things, including a laptop, picture books, cups and glasses, some fish sticks, and pasta. Now he also took a smart speaker for playing children's stories, and that was his downfall. A month or so after the break-in, he downloaded new stories onto that device, and it revealed his location to the manufacturers, who passed it along to the police. Now it's incredible that the speaker did him in and not the laptop. Now the guy is now in custody and is facing charges, although the specifics haven't been released. The smart speaker has been returned to the classroom, and it sounds like the kids are thrilled to have it back. It doesn't sound like they got their fish sticks and pasta back, though. It is time for our monthly chat with the grill whisperer. I always call him the grand poobah. He's the grill whisperer today. Our good friend Meathead Goldwyn. And Meathead, always good to visit with you, my friend.
Always good to visit you, Cameron. Lovely weather, and I see the Sooners are rolling.
Yes, they are. That's a good thing. Now, we talk each month. We like to delve into some different things, and I know you brought up the term to me, the barbecue stall, and you're not talking like in a barn or anything, I'm sure.
It can feel like it. This is a phenomenon that happens when you're cooking classic barbecue of a big hunk of meat, like a pork butt or a pork shoulder or a ham or a beef brisket. These are large hunks of meat, and they're typically smoked at a low temperature. 225 is your typical temp. And it can take a long time. A pork butt can take 8 to 10 hours. A brisket, depending on its size, can take 12 to 14 hours or more. And there's a phenomenon that happens that if you're experienced, you expect it, you know it, and you prepare for it. But if you're not experienced, if you're a newbie, or even if you have done it once or twice, it absolutely drives you nuts. And that's called the barbecue stall. And what happens is you should be cooking with a digital thermometer. That way you can track how the temperature of the meat is going. You can put a probe in it, and you'll watch the temperature slowly rise, and it'll go from refrigerator temp, 38 or so, slowly up till it hits about 150, 160. Now, your target is way up around 200, well past well done. I mean, a well done steak is 155. Mm-hmm. But what you're doing here is you're trying to melt the fat and the connective tissues that make it rich and unctuous. So you're going to take it up. I like to go to 203, just this side of the boiling temp. And that's why it takes so long. And what happens is as the temperature is rising, moisture evaporates from the surface of the meat. And it cools the meat, just like when you're cutting the lawn on a hot day and you start sweating. It cools the meat. And at a certain point, usually when the meat gets around 150, 160, 170, the cooling action is exactly the same rate as the heating action from the warm air inside your grill or smoker. And so the temperature stops going up. And this absolutely freaks out newbies. And it'll stick there for 4 or 5 hours. And, meanwhile, the guests are arriving. Your spouse is tapping her toes saying, when is dinner going to be ready? And what happens is you're waiting for the surface to dry out. When the surface dries out, it stops evaporating. It stops cooling, and it continues to heat down in the center, and it will work its way on up to your target temperature. And when the surface dries out, it forms what we call a bark. And that bark is the crunchy crust that has the rub in it. And if there's sugar in the rub, it's real, it's like meat candy, and everybody loves the bark. And it's actually kind of like jerky. It's a form of jerky. So the stall, if you haven't encountered it and you're going to do a pork butt, which is a great way to get started with grilling with low and slow, making fabulous pulled pork. It's really easy. We've got the whole technique on AmazingRibs.com. Expect that to happen. And when it does, don't slit your throat.
That's probably the best advice, life-saving advice you've given us so far.
I'm a lifesaver.
Now
we get panic letters all the time, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You can raise the temperature. If you're on a gas grill or something like that, you can crank the temp up a little. It will help. But you really got to get up over 300. And, a pork butt can actually take it at that temp, but it's better if you can keep the temperature low.
That's cool. Now, you mentioned the pork butt. What are some of the others that you have to worry about that barbecue stall with as well? Well,
most classic so-called Southern barbecue is cooked at a low temperature. And the reason is it takes time to melt that fat and the connective tissues that make them tough. These are usually cuts of meat. The shoulder of a hog, it's called the butt. I don't know why, but it's called the butt. It comes from the shoulder, and that's a hard-working set of muscles. It's a big knot of multiple muscles in there, and they have a lot of this connective tissue that surrounds the muscle fibers, and it's like gristle, and it can be very tough. But with time, it slowly gelatinizes, and that makes it wonderfully unctuous and delicious. Also, the fat. There's a lot of fat running through those muscles, and the fat renders, it gets soft, and that also makes it delicious and unctuous. So pork butt, pork shoulder, ham, beef brisket, even ribs to an extent, although it isn't a major problem with ribs because they cook fairly quickly because they're thin. But the big thick hunks of meat, they will stall on you if you're not watching.
Obviously, we are into September now, head on into football season, and this is always a time we also talk a little bit about some tailgating. And Meathead, any new inspiration for some tailgate parties?
Well, pulled pork, we were just talking about this. Pulled pork is a great tailgate party food because what you can do is you can actually cook the pork ahead of time, overnight. I mean, it can take 8 to 10 hours or the day previously, and you can put it in a Ziploc bag, squeeze out much of the air, and then bring it to the party. And then you get a pot of water simmering. Don't boil it. Get it simmering, which means, around 180, 190, just little tiny bubbles. And then you can drop this bag of pulled pork in there for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and that reheats it. And then you can pull it out and hit it with the sauce, serve it with buns. If you're one of those guys who likes to put coleslaw on top, which they do in the Carolinas, you can do that. And you can have great barbecue pulled pork. It reheats really well.
And of course, we always, you're also veg head as of late too. So I want to give you the opportunity to talk about what's the latest that you've pulled from the garden throwing on the grill.
Gosh, I don't know if we've talked about the smoked cherry tomatoes. Have I told you about that?
No.
Oh, God. This is the time of year when cherry tomatoes are all over the place. And if you've got 2 plants, you've got enough cherry tomatoes for the whole block. These things are wonderful on salads and stuff. But if you've got the ability to smoke, and by the way, you can do smoking on a charcoal grill, a gas grill, a smoker. You don't need a special smoker. A special smoker really helps. It's a dedicated tool that really is devoted to really good smoke flavors. But you can rig up a gas grill or a charcoal grill to do decent smoking. And I explain all this on AmazingRibs.com or in my book, Meathead. But you get these cherry tomatoes and you sit down with them while you're watching the game or something, because it takes a while. You got a big old bowl of them, rinse them off, and with a sharp knife, you poke 2 or 3 holes in each one. And when you get them all poked up, you put them on the grill or the now sometimes you want what they call a grill topper. It's a plate of metal with holes in it, because they could fall through the grates. And you're gonna smoke them for a couple of hours or more, and they'll start dehydrating. Now it can take 8 or 10 hours for them to get down to raisins. But when they get raisins, they're like sun-dried tomatoes, only they're smoky. And they're just awesome. But you only need to do 2 or 3 hours on the smoker, and then you can bring them indoors and put them on top of a broiler pan, which you want, or just in a regular old baking pan in the oven to finish it. Or if you've got a dehydrator, dehydrate them. But you want them as tender as a raisin. You don't want them getting crunchy and hard. So you keep the temperature low when you're smoking, down around 225, and they're awesome. You can throw them in a salad, bake them into a focaccia. They're just endless uses for these things. You put them in a zipper bag, throw them in the freezer. You can be eating them all winter long. And if you can imagine sun-dried tomatoes that are smoky, that's what you've got here. And they're just one of my favorite things. And I just did a batch this week, and we've got enough now to last us all winter long.
And you always mention the website, and I always, while we're talking, I like to go to the website and check things out and see something that kind of jumps out at me. And one of my favorites of all time has got to be, still as a kid, one of my favorites was Salisbury steak, still to this day. And I know that you guys have got some great recipes for that. You got also the Sloppy Joe and burgers as well on the website as well.
Yeah, the Salisbury steak's an interesting one, too. It may have been invented in Oklahoma. I forget. I think I've got a bit of the history there. But it's just a classic, with a brown sauce. It's just an oldie goldie that you don't see in many restaurants anymore. Maybe a few old diners that have been around for years and years are still making Salisbury steak, but they're fun, man. I'll tell you.
That's right. Now, of course, I know that has the Hall of Fame induction. Is that coming up this month? Am I right?
Yes, that is Saturday. And I am afraid I'm not going to be there. I'm being inducted into the BBQ Hall of Fame on Saturday in absentia. I'm just, I'm an old fart, and I have been vaccinated, and I do wear a mask. But I'm just not keen on going through airports and sitting on airplanes and hanging out in crowded ballrooms to accept the award of a lifetime. I mean, it's a real lifetime highlight. There's only 25 living members of the BBQ Hall of Fame, and to make it in amongst that company is an incredible honor. And there are some really excellent others that are being inducted alongside of me. But I'm sending one of my, one of my guys on my team, a guy named Clint Cantwell, is really talented, has said he wanted to go. So he's going to go in my stead. And hopefully next fall, I'll go down there and accept the award a year late.
Well, you mentioned Clint. That he was actually on the next recipe. I was intrigued by on your website, talking about the cheese stuffed bacon wrapped hot dogs. And how many days do you have to stop eating to prepare for that?
The bacon wrapped hot dog is a Chicago invention. It's called the Franchise or Frank Cheesy. But yeah, you split it open, you stuff it with cheese, you wrap it in bacon, and you either grill it or deep fry it. And it's a treat. It's way over the top. But, if you haven't had one, you got to try one.
That's right. Now, Meathead, I know you've got, we've talked about the book, Meathead, all about the science behind great grilling. You've also got the website. I know you've got some other things in the works as well. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about.
Well, we will be introducing next month, finally, after almost a year in development, 3 barbecue rubs and a sauce. And there's a pork rub. They're called Meatheads Amazing, and there's a pork rub, a poultry rub, and a red meat rub. And they're, if I do say so myself, they're pretty darn good. I have always been a salt guy by steaks. Get away from me with sauces, any of those, fancy seasoning blends, Lowry's, but not for me. I want my steak naked. But I'll tell you, I put this red meat rub on my steaks when we were developing it, and it is awesome. And my wife won't let me cook a steak without it anymore. I'm very pleased with all 3 of them. And then the sauce, and the sauce is actually being made in Oklahoma.
Well, there you have it.
By Head Country, which everybody down there knows. It's the number one sauce in Oklahoma. So we picked what we think is the best sauce company in the country to make it for us. And so I'm real pleased with the sauce, too. It's got a secret ingredient. When it comes out in October, I'll make sure you get some and see if you can guess what the secret ingredient is.
That sounds like a plan and a challenge as well.
Indeed.
Well, Meathead, always want to make sure and let folks know the website, where to find the book, and all the social media as well, my friend.
Well, AmazingRibs.com is the website. It's by far the most popular barbecue and grilling website in the world. Over 2,000 pages of recipes and product reviews and good stuff. And there's a Pitmaster Club membership section. Then there's the book, Meathead, The Science of Great Barbecue and Grilling, which should be in your bookstore. It's on Amazon. It's the number 1 selling barbecue cookbook in the world. And social media, you can find me at Meathead on Twitter and Amazing Ribs on Facebook. We're out there, easy to find.
That's right. Well, Meathead, always great to visit with you, sir. I appreciate you always taking the time each month, and congratulations on the award coming up, and look forward to talking to you next month, brother.
Always fun talking to you, and watch out for that stall.
Well, BuzzFeed recently conducted a quiz to find out how people feel about common flying habits, and they got well over 100,000 responses. And here are our highlights. Number 1, which seat is the best? 70% said the window seat, 29% went with the aisle, and 1% picked the middle seat. Yeah, that 1% is more than 3,000 voters, just to put it in perspective. Number 2, which is easier? Just a carry-on or just a checked bag? 63% chose the carry-on, and 37% said they'd rather check it so they don't have to lug it around. Number 3, what is the best airplane snack? 45% said cookies, 41% said pretzels, and 14% said peanuts, although those are rare on planes now due to allergy policies. Number 4, do you recline in your seat? 45% said no because it's rude to the person behind you. 43% said yes, but only if they're trying to sleep. 12% said yes all the time. Number 5, do you use the onboard bathroom? 68% said yes, 32% said no. And number 6, which seat do the arms rests belong to? 37% said they both belong to the middle seat, 34% said one goes to the middle, and one of the end seats gets 2, which is a fight waiting to happen. 26% said whoever gets there first, and 3% said they both belong to the end seats. The middle gets nothing. Luxury builder, the ultimate home creator, and I've lovingly referred to him as John Lovitz with a hammer. We've got Scott Hamilton Harris with us today. And Scott, always good to visit with you, my friend.
It's good to visit with you. How you been?
Doing okay. We're all making changes in life. That's kind of what we've all done the last couple of years, isn't it?
Oh my God, with this COVID and then now Delta, and I'm starting to wonder if they're naming them after hurricanes. Cameron. I heard the next one is elephant coming off an island in Aruba. The category 1. They're sending Trump out there. We'll see what happens next month.
That's right. Now things have picked up for you. I know you've been all over the place doing podcasts, doing special appearances and stuff like that. What's the schedule look like coming up for you as well?
Cameron, are you stalking me?
Instagram stalking.
Instagram, no, I can't. It's funny nowadays. People say, I'm a stalker. Everyone says it with, like, that's great. Well, let's see. At 1:00 today, I'm doing a show, which is a new show that's launching today that I'm excited to do on Instagram TV. I haven't done Instagram TV before, but it's with the host that did entertainment television for some time and interviewed some of the big ones, all the big ones. And so we're going to launch her show today.
That's cool. That's cool.
Exciting. Yeah.
And I know that that work is picking up. Are the job orders picking up, or did they ever even slow down for you? I guess is the question.
They are picking up for us. I mean, they didn't slow down, right? They just, for some reason, everybody thought the construction industry is something that doesn't have to stop during COVID. It's all right. Go to work, see what happens. Do you want your pool remodeled? Do you want to do some faux plaster? It's okay. It's all right. You're essential.
Yeah, I know, right?
So that was actually, I'll say if anything, it was a scary time for us because while everybody is allowed to sit home in the safety of their home and they're collecting, God bless them, all these wonderful unemployment checks and relaxing and doing those 500 piece to 5,000 piece puzzles, we're doing the real puzzles out there.
Right.
And you're in these confined spaces and good luck, getting 2 people or 3 people together to stay 6 feet apart in construction. Right.
Yeah.
Everybody carry this and install it, but stay 6 feet apart.
You got to buy everything in large sizes, right?
But knock on wood, I mean, we had John Woosley did all of our safety protocol along with me. And, we did a very fantastic job. And none of our employees had COVID. Our teams were protected, so we went through a pretty extensive monitoring process, but it's nerve-wracking,
Mm-hmm.
And then you finally feel like it's a little bit better, and here comes Delta. Now elephants next, or Jingle then.
That's funny. Now each month we get questions, and I get blown away. We actually got 4 questions to get to this month. How about that?
Oh, good.
So without further ado, I say, Scott, let's get into it.
All right, let's do it. Let's roll.
All right, our first question comes from Smitty in Orlando, Florida, who says that a friend's home burned down last year, wondering what we could do to help make ours more fire protected.
Wow. How did you get a name Smitty? Like, you gotta, at some point, change your name. Sorry, Smitty, no offense, but Smitty. A good question. What do you do? And look, the first thing is to stop building with wood, right? The 3 pig story, they learned that when the big bad wolf came through. But things that you can do are very simple. And I want people to think about this. And Smitty, I want you to think about this. This isn't about, protecting the house. It's about protecting lives. It's protect, we can, because it's great for the economy. You can build another, right? Look at what they've done with cars now. Cars are made to be disposable, right? Mm-hmm. They're made to take the impact and crush as long as they protect the person inside. So as much as, you and I may talk here and want to change the world, the reality is you want to put fire protection systems. Number one, here's an easy one you can do, Smitty. They have this cool thing called paint, and they use it for commercial buildings that has either a 1 or 2 hour fire rating. And so if you paint your house with this commercial paint, it allows your house to have a 1 to 2 hour fire rating, right? So, and it's interesting. We did Mark Thompson's house. I don't know if you know who he is. Mm-hmm. I think he's also on radio and everything else too. And he was involved in the fires. And so he's like, Scott, come on up. So he come up there, and I was blown away to see what these embers were, right? Like when I think of embers, I think of my little fireplace.
Right.
Well, the embers that are coming on this thing were like softballs, because he had he had one of those plastic decks on the backyard overlooking the city. And you see like not golf balls, but, softball size, just holes melted through this thing.
Wow.
And it makes you really aware that these things actually, these embers are traveling at a significant speed. They create their own windstorm. And after the Malibu fires, I learned a lot because I was asked to speak on Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
They called me. I'm sitting at Kentucky Fried Chicken having a chicken leg, and they said, "Scott, come on down tomorrow." I don't know if I know. Okay. I get there, Cameron, and there's all these fire captains, from Cal Fire, Ventura, all of them, right? Malibu. They're all sitting around me, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I don't know. What are you doing here? We're all going on the show together. Oh, wow. Did I learn a lot? The looks that I got from these gentlemen when I started telling what I thought I knew. It was a quick education on the air. Then they really let me have it on the Fox radio show. Oh, did they beat me up good. But, I learned a lot of things that I thought we should do. But, really the most important thing, Smitty, what you want to do is protect the home. We're not going to change the infrastructure. So you can do things like retrofit your home for a very affordable amount to do fire sprinklers. There's a lot of things you'll see when you're buying products that'll say 1 or 2 hour fire rating. Well, what does that mean? That means it gives you a rating of 1 hour before the structure burns. So if I can paint my house with a 1 hour fire rating paint, that's a pretty good time to get grandma out, get the dogs out, maybe get some of the money, get the things nobody knew about, right? That's a good amount of time. So easiest thing, Smitty, paint your house. And we'll talk about your name.
Yeah.
But thank you. Good question.
And you do that before the fire. You're not going to put a fire out with that paint.
No, you don't put, if you got enough of the paint and you get a helicopter, we do a drop over that. That's the idea. You just get the paint, drop it over. Drop it. We got. Yeah, there you go.
We're coming up with solutions today. That's what we do, Scott.
Yeah, there you go. It's just the insurance for that's a little tough. It's a little expensive. So it's more than the house.
Well, our next one comes from, we're going to go up north, Cleveland, Ohio. We've got Kate, who said, "We're painting our home. What's a perfect paint color for the kitchen and bedroom?"
Well, I guess we could do a quick paint job if we just had that helicopter come drop it over. We could do kind of like a pull-up, one of those wonderful abstract paintings on your house. Good question. Let's see, paint color. Dunn Edwards, 6279B. I want a 40%. I've been asked this question for so many years, and there is no such thing as the perfect color. And here's something to know. Every room and every color will look different, and even in every house. I was working for an architect when I was young. We're taking a walk to lunch, and he looked at one of the roses, and he said, "Look at the color of the rose today. Isn't it beautiful?" And I said, "I saw it for the past week." He said, "I know, but look at it all has to do with the atmospheric conditions. And so this rose is going to change colors every day." And then he, made me realize a color is not just a color is this living, breathing thing that changes from day to night. And actually there's reflections that change it. So it's very challenging for anyone to pick a perfect color, but I got it for you. Here we go, Kate. Here we go. So what you do is if you live in a backyard or outside, take a few colors and put them outside and just see if they blend with the surrounding wildlife. Because the problem with most colors, and I'll tell you, no offense to Home Depot. Did I say that? No. What they're doing with with the less expensive paints is they don't have as many pigments to make it up, right? Like some are just red, green, blue, or they have 4, and the colors start to look very synthetic, and it's almost challenging to ever hit anything right. And so when you go to like things like Benjamin Moore and the more expensive paints, they might have 6 or 8 or 13 pigments. So you get something more natural. And what happens is you don't want your paint to look synthetic. But a good check is walk outside, take that paint chip and take a paint board and put it in with nature. And you'll see one of those colors may fit, or none of them may fit, or one may fit, because God's done a good job. I've never taken a walk and said, wow, what was he thinking with that purple flower out there? Man, that hillside was so perfect, but like the purple sock flower, wow, he needs a wife. Like it just everything fits in nature, and so if you can get colors that fit within that realm and they look good there, more than likely they're going to look good inside. So give that a try.
Now, along with that, is there color choices based on, say, the size of the room? I mean, a bigger room, are there certain colors you want to avoid as opposed to a smaller room, maybe?
I think it's a really good question, Cameron, because I think that was like when I grew up, my parents said, paint the room white. It looks bigger. Put mirrors up. It looks bigger. Still don't fit in here, Dad. Same size. And it's more about illusion. It's more about furniture. Here's something interesting, very counterintuitive. I love black, Cameron. And people are so afraid of black because it's counterintuitive because, well, if white makes the room look really big, then black's going to make it really tiny, right?
Yeah.
And here's what black does. The eyes are interesting in that they're always looking for a focal point. And if you want to make your room look bigger, take the texture off the wall. Take the colors off the wall, because what your eye is doing is trying to grab something to understand its depth. And if you've got a wall that's got a lot of orange peel on it, and then put a little shine, I know doesn't matter if I do white, black, or green. Now try black. Here's what happens. Your eyes cannot focus on the wall. There's nothing to grab on because it's too dark. So it's a similar effect if you're living, at nighttime when you're just staring up at the sky. It feels like it goes on forever.
Mm-hmm.
A black ceiling or a black room, late at night, it feels like there are no boundaries anymore. They've been erased. And so dark colors are fantastic for making some of the small rooms feel bigger.
There you go. You're breaking some of those myths that we've all been saddled with, right?
Yeah. I've been doing it long enough. I lived in it, but it's important because a lot of things are written for what sounds good. Here's something else to think about. Most of what we talk about is what we see, and it has to be seen in a picture.
Right.
And black doesn't photograph well. I did a show for HGTV, and I went in there with the producers and they said, show us what you want to do. We're doing the white kitchen. I brought all the stuff, Cameron, and I said, here's everything. And they're like, that's perfect. It was the white, the marble counters, the silver. And then they said, what's in the other bag? Oh, that's the cool shit. That's the really good stuff right there. And so I pulled it all out. It was black. I did a black kitchen. And they said, that does not work well on TV. So we can't do it. And I said, but see, therein lies why we have a problem, is everything we're doing is about what looks good on film. And we stopped doing what looks good in real life. And then when you're writing an article, it's what looks good in the picture next to it. So we came up with a way. I actually did silver. My dad was a photographer, so I know a little bit about cameras. So I figured we're going to do silver leafing trim around all the edges of the doors, little like lines. So it popped. It was beautiful. It was, it's interesting. So try new things. You can't believe everything you read or hear.
That's right. And let's see, out in your neck of the woods, Upland, California, we've got Benny. So we got Smitty and Benny both this morning. And he said they saw a posting on your Instagram page of faux panel walls. Can you tell them how you did that? And thanks.
Yeah. Do you think Smitty and Benny are really the same guy?
It could be. It's an alias.
It is. I mean, come on. Let's see. Faux panel walls. I always say no to faux, but yeah. It's I think what they're talking about is what I did on a few projects is what we call applied molding, right? It's so much time and work, and it's beautiful to do real wood paneling on walls the right way, especially when you're doing it over a crooked framing system. Good luck. Send 4 men in there in Geppetto's workshop, and I'll see you in 2 months. And let me know if we're ready to start doing some paint prep. But here's something that we've been doing. You take some of this picture frame molding or pencil molding, right? And you put it on the walls in rectangles. Lay out a design. You can put it right over, pin nail it over the drywall. what we do to make it look good is we put it on first, and then we just take the drywall mud and float to it and use that as our guide and paint it. You want to paint it not a shiny color because the walls are not going to be perfect, but you do kind of like a nice, not even satin, do a nice matte paint. Wow, the room looks like it was paneled, and so easy. You can do it over a weekend. Husband and wife can try not to fight and do it. I bet, Cameron, I bet you could even do it I want to in your office. Hey, your walls are black there. What do you think of your dark walls, by the way?
I've got 2 dark walls, and we've got 2 dark red walls too. They're covered with signatures, but here, let me show you. There's our.
Okay.
See, the rest of the studio has signed walls. So yeah.
Hey, I see you got a guest there.
I do. That's my buddy Darren.
Hey, Darren, how are you? You're looking good. Do you like your black wall or you're looking at the red wall? It gives you energy.
Yeah, it does. I'm glad I don't have the dark wall that I'm looking at all the time.
Yeah, no, it's actually, it's interesting. You can tell me to shut up, but there is no such thing as color. Colors are actually just vibrational rates where the light bounces off and hits them. So black absorbs it all. Red kind of bounces off a nice fun wave to you. So that's why the colors have a big impact on your psyche as well. They're like sound waves, essentially.
Yeah. See, you bring out those things that a lot of people don't think about. When you talk about color, you talk about texture. Those can play big effects on your eyes. And then, like you mentioned, your mentality as well.
Yeah. It started when you're 5 years old and your mom locks you in your room a lot. You got a lot to think about when you're staring at the wall. You're like, this texture. What happens if I take it off? Now, as I'm coming up on 50 next month, I think I've learned a few things.
That's right. Well, we still have one more question left, Scott.
Okay.
It's from Portland, Oregon, and it comes from Judy. And said that she heard that you remodeled the Playboy Mansion. What would you suggest to make a home more sexy, other than a robe?
Yeah, well, I don't know, Judy, give me a call. But Judy, before you call me, I am having this relationship with Alexa right now. So
you have had an on and off again relationship with Alexa for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, well, we actually had kids recently. We got we actually have the little, Echo balls now. So and they're doing fine. They're doing well. So let's see. What do you do to more sexy? Yeah, we did the Playboy Mansion. That was fun. That was like the sexiest house ever. My favorite part was the workshop where they had all the pinup girls just posted up everywhere from the 60s. How do you make a room more sexy? What can we talk about here on the, let's see. There's dungeons. There's all kinds of, here's what's sexy to a woman, right? What's sexy to a woman is having a clean, beautiful room to lay in. To have a room that's cluttered with all kinds of paraphernalia, and we're not talking that kind of paraphernalia,
right?
But to have a room that's cluttered is very unsexy to a woman or a man. I think a room, in order to be in that wonderful natural place that we're talking about, you need to be in a place of peace. You got to just take a deep breath. And, it's like when you go to a hotel, why are so many babies, it all happens in the hotels because, right? It's called the clean room environment. You just go there and you put 2 people in a clean room and it happens. So, it's not about, no offense, not about the red or the mirrors on the ceiling. That stuff gets old. It's about creating a calm environment. And it's also about the bed. It's having just the most luxurious sheets. Treat yourself to that. And if you're not allergic to down, some just beautiful down pillows and comforters and a few candles. But it's about cleanliness. It's amazing. It makes you feel brighter. It makes you feel sexy. It makes you happier. It makes you your psyche more calm. It makes you more focused and then therefore more hyper. And right? Because you can do more. So That's what you do. Judy, clean up your room.
There you go.
Dad just told you go clean up your room. Call me after.
I know, right? Well, Scott, I always want to make sure and let folks know if they would like to see some of the other projects that you've been working on. Maybe follow on social media. Where's the best place to keep up with everything, my friend?
Well, I have a new one now. It's Scott Hamilton Harris. And then I have my other one, it's Scott_Harris_building that I think you follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we're expanding it now. And so follow me there. Just give me a follow. I don't ask for much, just a little follow.
I know, right?
I just need a little like.
Well, Scott, I always appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, and I look forward to our visit coming up next month as well. And if you have any questions, be sure and you can tag those on the episode. You can also, if you'd rather, just send me an email or hit me up on socials. Everything's GQ with Cam, and the email gqwithcam@gmail.com. Well, Scott, I look forward to visiting with you again next month, my friend.
All right, same here. That was a blast. You're the greatest.
Well, thanks again for joining us for this 131st episode of Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, a question, maybe anything else you'd like to know, you can hit me up on the contact page at gqwithcam.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at GQ with Cam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, you can visit our merch store where we've got hoodies, shirts, mugs, tumblers, stickers, and more. It's gqwithcam.com/shop. If you have a special guest idea, just email me, gqwithcam@gmail.com. Well, thanks again to our good friend Brandon Allen for coming up with our theme music. We're going to let him play us out and hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday.